Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Clyde FC podcast, sponsored by Tony Flynn Mortgages. We are back after a short, life-enforced break, but we are back, and unfortunately, some things haven't changed. Politicians are still making headlines. Graham Murray still has dodgy Wi-Fi, and Clyde are still struggling on the pitch, especially when it comes to picking up full points. All that being said, it hasn't been all bad. Seriously, it's not been all bad, as we have increased that precious gap that we have over Peterhead to 4 points. To discuss this and much more, we have a full house tonight. I'm delighted to say I am joined by the aforementioned Graham Murray, John Boyce and Dougie Dewar. Gentlemen, it's good to have you all on. So without further ado, let's talk Clyde. So we'll come to yourself, Dougie, because it's been a wee while since you've been on the pod. It's fair to say that the last two matches have been very differing in both performances and results.
Yeah, complete contrast in performances. So Airdrie result, I know we'll need to discuss. It's one of those ones we would rather forget sooner rather than later. Airdrie, just a complete bogey team, have been for a few years for ourselves, been on the wrong end of a couple of hidings off them this season. But last week was certainly a much improved performance, and if we're wanting to seriously think about staying in this league, we're going to need another few performances like that in the run-in for the rest of the season.
Yeah, Graham, obviously we sat side by side for both the games, as we did John as well, but how would you describe, or what was key? What was the key difference? Let's flip that. What was the key difference between the two different performances for yourself?
I think it was just more a case of controlled effort. I think the Airdrie game, we had prolonged periods of possession and did nothing with it, and I didn't think there was a lack of effort, but it didn't seem to be going anywhere. It didn't seem to be with any kind of direction on or off the park, and it just seemed to be that against Falkirk we had a plan and we stuck to it. So it just looked as if, I know that the guys have been going through a tough time this season and there's a lot of fear that goes into these kind of things as well, but I just felt, I'm not sure whether they thought or were scared to try and take the game to Airdrie, and they thought they were on a hiding to nothing against Falkirk, and it maybe worked to their advantage, but it just seemed to be more emphasis on the effort being placed in the right places, if that makes sense. There's no real rhyme or reason. They just seemed to be more organised. They appeared to be, trying things out in the right way, if that makes sense, and they got their just rewards and could have maybe even snatched the 3 points.
Yeah, so boys, would you say cohesion was the message from the Falkirk game that was lacking in the Airdrie performance?
Yeah, I think if we're comparing both games, we set up in a similar way. Airdrie and Falkirk both up the right end of the table. Good for them. Airdrie, very clinical. I don't think there's much difference in our own performance against both teams. I think Airdrie were very clinical. I think Falkirk struggled to break us down. Their manager, John McGlynn, after the game said exactly that. They struggled to break us down. They couldn't score that goal to get them the win. And you wonder why a player like Jordan Allen's on the bench for them when they're looking to do that, but that's not our problem. I thought Airdrie took their goals well. We played well for long periods of the game, like Graham said. We had good possession, just didn't really do anything with it. And again, we saw that in the Falkirk game. And as we discussed, Paul, in the half-time analysis on the live stream, I thought that the way Falkirk set up actually suited us to attack them, and that's why we saw Ross Cunningham come on at half-time, Stephen McGinn for them in that holding role moved forward, and we could counter the way that we wanted to be set up at the start of the season and how we played against Queen of the South. But there was just that lack of confidence there, and we never really saw our fruits of our effort from that in the second half. But encouraging performance to go into Saturday. To summarise, I think Airdrie were more clinical Falkirk couldn't break us down. Our performance similar over both games.
Yeah, so we'll come round the house again. We'll come back to yourself, Dougie. The Airdrie game, we knew coming into it that they were flying. I mean, they scored 13 in 2 games. Coming to ourselves, fragile, to say the least. You're hoping to probably break the game down into 10-minute segments, keep it tight for the first 10, then the next 10, and take it from there. So, of course, by 11 minutes, it's 2-1 to Airdrie. We concede, I think, after 80 seconds, and a goal that probably best sums up our season.
Yeah, well, having been in the shop, wrapping that up in the fan zone, I missed all 3 of the first 3 goals. So thankfully I was able to watch them back in the highlights. But as you say, it's frustrating when you know the team that you're coming up against. So I would hope, scouted out Airdrie from the weeks before, scoring goals for fun. It's the old cliches and metaphors boys say that we always talk about, is you've got to keep it tight for the first 10-15 minutes, and we've not seemed to manage to do that very often this season, particularly the Montrose game springs to mind as well, and I think that's probably just the biggest frustration, is when you're going in against a team like Airdrie and they have been scoring goals for fun and they've got players who are on really hot streaks of form, that we concede 2 goals in the first quarter or whatever. We just giving yourself a bit of an uphill battle from the start right away. So it's frustrating when we've hopefully done our homework on what we're expecting to see. You wouldn't mind setting up a bit more defensively against a team like that when we know what firepower they've got. So it's frustrating when we're losing those kind of silly goals as well.
It's been the crux of the issue all season, Graham. The goals conceded column is growing arms and legs, unfortunately. Where earlier in the season we were losing games clearly, the stats are there. The games are tight, but more concerning of late is that there's been a good few hidings in there. You've got 4-0 away to Falkirk, the 5-1 Airdrie game. There's been a few games where we've not really came close to these teams.
Yeah, and I think that is the most concerning thing. I think Dougie was lucky to miss the first 3 goals, but we were certainly in the game even at 2-1, and we lose goals at the worst times of games. You look at the timings of the first goal and the third goal that Airdrie scored as well. But what was most worrying to me, and it's something that's been creeping in, and again, it's possibly lack of confidence, possibly fear, but they're down in tools, to put it in that manner. That they've chucked it, and we can accept that we might have a certain budget. We can accept that we might not have the greatest players, and we're also picking up the pieces of what was signed in the summer and it hasn't worked out for Danny at first, and obviously Jim's come in and tried to make the best of what he's got. But what we can't accept is a lack of effort, and at certain points in time throughout the season there have been occasions, the 2 Airdrie games and the Falkirk away game, where we've just simply, through lack of leadership, lack of confidence, whatever you want to call it, the guys have chucked it, and that's unacceptable for a small club like ourselves. When you've got such die-hard fans, they can appreciate when there's effort there, and we have shown appreciation for that effort throughout the season, even when we have been defeated. But we can't accept guys not giving it their all, because that should be the minimum requirement.
Yeah, boys, I think that was my biggest frustration. Obviously, I think you would have heard many a shout from myself and Freddie. It did come across that way. Whether it was just the wind was knocked out themselves or otherwise, as Graham said, the minimum requirement that every Clyde fan expects is that they put in the shift. If you get beat by the better team and the better players, you accept that. That's football. You come up against better squads sometimes. But if you're not willing to put the yards in, you're not going to get any results.
Definitely. I think against a team like Airdrie, if you kind of don't think you're going to get back into the game at 3 down or 2 down even, then it's going to be more. On a more positive note, I think we did defend better against Falkirk. I think we threw bodies in the way. Barry Guddahy as well was superb in the middle, I thought. He was making tackles that, were great to see at this stage of the season. And that's what we're talking about now. It's tackles in the middle that should be getting done all the time, but here we are. I did think, just moving on slightly to the Falkirk game, I thought Ryan Mullen had a good game. I thought his distribution was good, I thought his communication was good, and he made a couple of key saves. So I think that was a positive from recent games, but yeah, the Airdrie game, a quick one to forget, I think.
Yeah, so let's just brush under the carpet if only we could, and forget that it did happen. But when the Scottish Cup semi-finalists rock up just 8 days later, albeit that we're going through a wee bit of a downturn in form, which seems a bit much coming from us, saying that I think they were 1 point from 9 before they came to New Douglas Park. We needed a performance, Dougie. We I think every fan was demanding it, quite frankly, but we got it.
Yeah, it was pleasing to see the response from the week before. Obviously, Jim's had the guys in twice during the week to try and work on some of the costly mistakes from the Airdrie game. But I echo what Boyce is saying there. It was pleasing to see Ryan play well after being so all out with injury. I thought we were a lot stronger and just more cohesive at the back on Saturday as well. As you touched on earlier, mate, I was very surprised to see Jordan Allen sitting on the bench when they are going through a hard run of games, and he is sadly cup tied for them as they look at it. So you would think, a game against his old team, good opportunity for him to try and come in and prove a point. So I was quite pleased to see him sit on the bench for the majority of the game. And yeah, Falkirk aren't at their best right now. They seem to have taken their eye off the ball with the Scottish Cup on the horizon. I actually thought they were there for the taking in the second half with some of the chances we were making, albeit they were on the counter attack. There was certainly a good 2 or 3 opportunities where we carved them open, and just with probably a bit more clinical eye for goal, we probably could have got 3 points out of that game, and yeah, John McGlynn might have been a bit upset, but I think we wouldn't have, it wouldn't have been beyond us to get 3 points on Saturday.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue that we had when we did get chances, with the exception of probably Kyle's header early in the game off on the side of the bar, all the chances, boys, that we did create, we were just lashing at them. I can think of Kyle in the second half when the ball breaks them in the box. He's turning around and he's trying to leather it. I don't think he needs to put that much power in, especially from that close. Late in the game as well, where the ball broke to Ross Cunningham. It's that lack of composure when we are getting chances that we really need to work on.
Yeah, absolutely. And earlier in the season, we had a player that would finish those, but he was sitting in the other bench. I think you're right with the chances we created. When Doherty or Cunningham got the ball in the box, they were very excited to have it and just lashed at it first time. Now obviously they'll want those back, and bit of composure, and you've got to work the keeper. The Kyle Doherty one in the second half inside the box springs to mind, where he hits it on the turn. Got to be testing the goalkeeper there, but easy for me to say in the stand, analysing it. But I think Kyle Doherty's looked good, to be honest. He's not scored a lot of goals, but I think his movement and his on the ball has opened up play for other players to come in, and he looks a handful for opposition defences. So I'd just like to see him add some goals to that. I think we've got a cracking player on our hands with Kyle, but yeah, the chances would have been nice to finish, but I think the main positive is that the defensive performance was there, and I thought a favourite of the Shanks household, Big Eric Sewell, when he came on, I thought he was excellent once again, coming into a game for McGeever where if a player's not been playing against a team like Falkirk for the first 45 or 50 minutes. They might struggle to get into it the first 5 or 10, but I thought he did really well. You know, did what was asked of him and stopped the ball coming into the box. I also shout out to Ross Lyon as well. I thought he's been excellent, especially recently, stopping crosses coming in, really putting in the effort, and he seems to do a shift in the middle of the park as well. I know he's been deployed as a kind of central midfielder sometimes, or just ends up there during some breaks in play. So it's good to see we're getting some defensive performances at the right end of the season as well.
Yeah, I think, Graham, we touched upon it. I think it was ourselves that discussed it, that it was perhaps maybe Ross's best defensive game for quite some time in a Clyde shirt. I thought he's not just his reading of the game. We know his reading of the game can be actually very good, but I think when he got there, he dealt with danger, as Boise was kind of touching upon there, very, very well. No thrills, nothing too fancy at the time. Just sometimes just putting the ball out for a throw in. I think we've been guilty of trying to overplay at times. So yeah, I was impressed with Ross. Was there any others that stood out for yourself?
There was. I will touch upon Ross Lyon. I thought he's been a bit of an unsung hero in the fact that he's played in so many positions. He's quite an honest, hard-working player. He's really came. The thing that Boise touched on there, the thing that I've noticed the most since he came back, is his anticipation of opposition breaks and threat. He seems to read the game very, very well and break up a lot of the opposition's attacks and then try and play it out from the back at that point in time as well. I think if he could work on his distribution, I think he would be much more effective. But that's I think every single Clyde player this season could work on a few things as well. So small margins there, but yeah, I think he's been a bit of an unsung hero in the fact that he's continuously put his head above the water. He's not hidden any games, and that's not something that you could say about everybody. So fair play to him. He's been played in 2 or 3 different positions, left back I think one game as well. So yeah, fair play to Ross for his continued effort this season. Touch on again what Boise said there as well. I thought it was Kyle Doherty's best game in a Clyde jersey. Yeah. There was one thing I think you do get with Kyle's effort, and 2-3 weeks ago we had accusations of laziness at one of the games there, which I couldn't quite believe. Now, it's not always went his way, but he puts in a shift, and none more so than last Saturday against Falkirk. He really, really worked his socks off up front, because he was doing a lot of the way that the formation was. He was pretty much up there himself, looking to get support from the wider areas, and sometimes it wasn't coming. So he really, really put himself about, got some good possession in good areas, and really unlucky with the header that came off the underside of the bar and then bounced out the way. That doesn't tend to happen. But yeah, really, really good signs from him. Scored his first goal against Airdrie, of course, and hopefully if he can get a goal or two, it might just get him on a run of things as well.
I'm actually going to give him even more credit, Graham. I thought he led the line really, really well, not just by his effort, but I think his hold-up play, when we got the ball in his feet, even in his chest, he was turning Falkirk defenders and instantly getting a couple of yards of space, and more often than not he was finding his man with the ball. So I think it was, I would agree with you, Kel's probably finest 90 minutes in a Clyde jersey so far, and hopefully much more of that to come. Dougie, who was the star man for yourself?
I think we just need to look at who we nullified for the game. You hardly saw Callum Morrison kick the ball, and when it came to some of the previous games when we've played Falkirk, the 4-0 game that you alluded to earlier, he tore us apart. Yeah. So I think John had a great game out that side, and as I touched on earlier, I think just defensively we're a lot more coherent unit at the back on Saturday. I don't know if it was just different organisation, having Brian back in there from the start as well. If we keep that going for the rest of the season, we need to be harder to beat. We need to just concede less scrappy goals, and if we can just nullify who the biggest threat of the opposition is. If we had done that with McGill the week before, would we have lost 5 goals against Airdrie? Probably not. So it's probably just a bit more tactical moves coming in from Jim to pick up on who do we need to nullify that threat from the opposition. So certainly a lot more positive result than what we saw the week before.
Right, let me push you on that then. So why can't we do this consistently? What? I mean, we can see what these players can do in the Falkirk game. We can see it. We've seen it at various other points. So look at the Dunfermline away game, the Falkirk 3-each game. We can compete with the best teams in this league in a one-off match. Why can't we do this more often?
If I knew the answer to that, I'd have got that job instead of Frank Lampard earlier on today. We've all touched on it. I think confidence. Football's a confidence game. No matter how skillful you are, you could have the best team in the league. If you're coming up against a team that's firing all cylinders and has good confidence and what it's going out on the pitch to do, then they can play anybody and beat anybody on the day. And we've shown a lot of that since we came into League One, particularly with some of our results against Falkirk pre-pandemic. Nobody gave us a hope when we went up against some of the outfits they had at that point, and we played them off the park. So I wish I had the answer to that question about why we can't do it every week. But for me, that's the big thing. I know Graham's touched on it there. It's just that confidence and composure. As Boyce said, we made good chances on Saturday. We got ourselves into really good positions, but just that lack of confidence and composure to put the ball in the back of the net is what's really cost us a lot of the time this season. Alongside cutting out those silly mistakes, just that lapses in concentration. Every time we seem to make a mistake in the first kind of half of the season, the ball was hitting the back of the net 10 seconds later. A huge combination of different things I think we need to do. But as long as we can do enough to see ourselves still in League One next season, I don't really think we'll care how we manage to get it.
Which irony for me was our best chance of the game, the header that we've spoken about. Very frustrating, because that is the sort of play that we should be looking to do every week against teams. Quick out from the goalkeeper, utilise our pace down the sides and get the ball in to the box to finish off.
Managed to get it away through John Craig. Docherty holding off his man. That's well defended by the Falkirk man. Blaine Rowe. Oh, lovely ball in. Falkirk on the attack here. It was a cute ball into Cole Donaldson, who tried to square it back, but Ryan Mullen was alert to it and gathered up the danger. And it's Clyde now who counter with Cammy Selkeld. The ball comes into Docherty. Oh, did it go in? The referee deems no.
We've not seen it a lot. Look how effective it was early on against Falkirk. And then did we see that happen again in the game? No. Why didn't we explore that? Why did we consistently try and go through the middle or play the ball long? I think that's one of the key frustrations for me, and I just don't know why we don't play that way more often. Do you boys think that style of play would suit, or do you think I'm just talking nonsense?
Well, a bit of both, boys. But no, in fairness, I think we have to understand the level at times as well, and that was obviously a great opportunity early on in the game, and I think when you've got maybe a more capable team with a manager like John McGlynn on the sidelines, they could quite quickly identify that they're getting too much space down the flanks and have the personnel on, stop the crosses coming in. I think the only other cross that I can remember was actually from good play from Kelty Hearts, who crossed the ball into the box, and there was no takers on the other side of it. But we are where we are because of the players that we've got. So to touch on Paul's point, why are we not doing that every single week? We've shown we can compete, but we've won 3 games all season. So I think possibly competing is the best we can hope for. That comes with effort and organisation, and we haven't had that in every single game. But if we can at least have that in the games running up to hopefully what is a playoff position, then it does possibly give us some confidence to look into that as well. But we are where we are because we're if not the worst, we're the second worst group of players in the division. We can't get away from that. We can only compete by trying hard and being organised.
Well, I can't really argue with that, Graham. I mean, yeah, it's some very good and pertinent points. I was going to move on to a slightly more cheerier subject, but you've just kicked the wind at me. Thanks for that. No, the Falkirk game did. It was a momentous occasion for one Clyde player who made his 200th appearance for the Bully Wee. It's a rare occurrence these days that a player at any level makes that many appearances for the one club. Boise, you used to have your own wee song for him. I'm not going to make you sing it. You can if you want. Barry's been with us since July 2017, I believe it was he signed now. 8 goals by my count. I haven't counted his assists because I've been unfortunately a bit busy today DIYing, but what's been your kind of main highlight in Barry's time, Boise, with the club so far?
Yeah, so that song you mentioned, I don't even think I remember it. It was when I had one too many Fantas and in a way. We made that song on the way back. But no, I think someone has done the math. Barry Cuddihy, 14,321 minutes in a Clyde jersey, equates to 240 hours over the 7 seasons, as you say. So a fair stint. It's got to be the Wowie moment, isn't it? The famous commentary for his wonder strike early in the season. Can't remember who it was for, but it was a great strike, and that's lived on for a few seasons. But I guess on the podcast, we call him the engine. Paul doesn't like that, but
I don't dislike it.
No, Barry, he's given us all in the Clyde shirt. One Player of the Year in 2019, I believe.
Yeah, promotion season. Yep.
Promotion season. So that tells you all you need to know about how important he was that season. But cracking player, and would love to see him get 200 more.
Yeah, Dougie, same question for yourself then. Just Barry's been brilliant for Clyde on the whole. He's been with us through some tough times and some good times, and we're going through another tough time. So hopefully,
longest serving player at the club, which is rare in these days for somebody to stay with a club for so long. Never mind Clyde. The turnover of players that we've had in the last 10-15 years. You've got some players who struggle to make 200 minutes, never mind 200 games. So it's a fantastic achievement for him. And certainly from Saturday saw how chuffed he was to be presented with his jersey for 200 games. As you touched on, the fact that he got a Player of the Year in the promotion season when we had a lot of star performers in that side is a really true testament to his versatility that year. He kind of started the season in the middle of the park, ended up at fullback, and I think there was a few raised eyebrows at that point as to what on earth is Danny doing playing him at right back, and then went on to be, as I say, one of the most consistent players of the season. Very regularly, you get a 6 or a 7 out of 10 every week from Barry. It's maybe not spectacular wowie strikes in the cup against Dumbarton, but he puts himself about. He is the engine, and his versatility, kind of like you're talking about Ross Lyon earlier, Graham. Wherever he's told to play, he does it without any complaints. He's there to play for the jersey, and it's refreshing to see somebody really can put that graft in and play for the jersey, which has kind of been lost for us over the years. So really delighted to see him reach such a fantastic milestone for the club, and the fact it's the first since a club legend in Big Paddy Keogh shows that he keeps very good company in the 200 club.
Yeah, there's some names in that list. It's a very small list in the grand scheme of things when you think of, obviously, for the length of time the club has existed. I don't know the exact number, but it's not a massive amount. So yeah, 200 for Barry. He's only 26. I mean, who knows? As you said, Boise, he was hoping for another 200 in a Clyde jersey. And he can come in this, obviously, journey that the club is going to go through, hopefully, in the near future. So we are 5 league games away from what is hopefully an extended season for ourselves, with the playoffs in mind. That point against Falkirk was a very beneficial one at that, in that we increased our gap to bottom by a whole point to 4. It's not brilliant, but at the same time, it gives us a wee bit more breathing space. This Saturday, we travel to the Kingdom, Boise. What are you hoping to see from Clyde as we face up against a team that don't really have anything to play for?
I'm just hoping for a successful trip to the Kingdom, Paul, to be honest. Get in there, get the points, get back. Hoping for myself. It'll be the first time I've seen Kelty Stadium, so looking forward to that. You all know I like to tick off stadiums, so that'll be a good day for me. Kelty, as a whole, they've done fairly well this season. Started off the season pretty good. Their form recently has not been great. They're winless in the last 6, picking up 3 points. The last 2.
Why?
I do it every time. That's for stats. I did say that against Falkirk though,
That's true.
And we put in a good performance, so maybe I've improved as well. Their 2 most recent against Falkirk and Dunfermline away, it's 0-0, so their defensive performances have been there. I think they've got a good spine of their team. Tam Ware, Tidser, Bud Jonas, and a man we all know loves a goal against Clyde, Nathan Austin. So hopefully we can keep him quiet as we kept Callum Morrison quiet on Saturday. Let's have positivity. We can stop players if we want to. But yeah, I think it'll be a tough game, low scoring affair. But here's hoping the Bully Wee come out with a 1-0 win.
So Boyce saying it's a low scoring affair, Graham. So should I be heading to the bookies and be putting on 3 each? Please gamble responsibly. I should just add.
4-3, whatever. If you win, then yeah. I think this is the problem we've got. Is we predict these things and we look at. I know we joked there about with Boise and the fact that when we predict these kind of things and teams that are coming into these games and equally bad runs of forms, we seem to be the bridesmaid and never the bride for them. However, I'm just hoping that we actually were able to have another performance. Back-to-back performances. You're probably going back to August since we had them. I think we picked up a little bit. I think that we get 2 draws in a row in Jim's first 2 games in charge. The Fairman. So you're possibly going back as long as that until we had a couple of performances back to back. We didn't build on the Peterhead victory as massive as that was. We went to Edinburgh again thinking that they were in a bit of a slump, and they smashed us. So we've just got to take what worked for us last week and apply it and keep it as simple as possible. Do the simple things better. Selection will be probably something that we'll have to look at because we might be carrying a couple of injuries. It's been that kind of season for us as well. Let's see if we go out there with a game plan, something that we want to protect, we want to make ourselves hard to beat, we want to hit in the break, whatever. It's just about trying to get another performance in the back of Saturdays.
Yeah, you brought up August. I can't believe we're harking back to August again, Dougie, but if you had said at the end of the first meeting of the 2 sides, we won 3-0, that we would be heading into this game 19 points behind Kelty Hearts, I don't think anyone would have believed you. But here we are, that facts are facts. The two teams Kelty have achieved probably what they would want to this season. Are you hoping that, I don't like the phrase down enough tools, but are you hoping that they've perhaps already kind of went, well, we're safe?
It would be fantastic if they did. As you say, they've come up into League One with the aim of survival, and they've achieved that quite comfortably. I don't think necessarily through them being a fantastic team. I think they've survived due to ourselves and Peterhead being pretty dreadful for the full year. If either one of us had been able to compete a little bit better, I think Kelty would have had a lot of concerns looking over their shoulder, because they, as Boyce said, they blow very hot and cold in terms of their form. Stadium's quite a kind of open place to go, so hoping that it's at least a decent day, because if it's a bit windy and rainy, it's pretty grim to go to. But to be honest, these games are the ones where if we can pick up a point, I would be delighted. We're getting our predictions in. I'd be delighted with another 0-0, and that probably isn't very ambitious, but at the moment we just need to try and get more points on the board than Peterhead. Out of these 5 games left, I know we're not going to talk about it just yet. It'll probably be in a few weeks' time on the pod, but there's one game that matters out of these 5 that's left, which is going to make or break the rest of the season. So with the greatest respect to the other games, if we can pick up another 4 points in the other 5 games and not lose to Peterhead, that should be enough for us to hopefully, and it sounds very unambitious, hopefully achieve that playoff position at the wrong end of the table, because I honestly don't see enough in Peterhead to win enough games to go past us. We're poor, they're really poor. So yeah, I'd be delighted with a nothing each on Saturday.
To clarify as well, I'm not going to predict the weather. That's something
Peterhead do have a game in hand as well, just to state that. However, that is against Dunfermline, albeit it is at Balmoor. I believe the way the fixtures are falling, that if Dunfermline win that, provided they do win on Saturday, they would be champions regardless of any other result. So there's that kind of hope that Dunfermline are still all guns blazing at that point. I'm not going to force any predictions out of you. Dougie, you've went for a boring 0-0. Boyce, you've went for a low scoring affair. I just take a win, I take a performance.
I'll tell you what I think we do need to do though. They've obviously got Agyeman and Austin up top. I think they use Agyeman as a hold-up player for the other boys to run off, especially Bud Jonas. I've seen it in their highlights. They did it against Montrose and got their goal. So I think we really need to attack the ball with our centre-halves when they're putting it up to Agyeman. Stop that hold-up play. Stop their routine and really upset them. And then we can play our game. But I think that disruption of Agyeman is going to be really key.
He was pretty much the difference maker from the first game in Kelty, especially in the second half. It was kind of 50-50 first half, but second half there's no complaints. Kelty thoroughly deserved a win, and he was key. He scored one. Was just one? I think he scored. He battered us. He bullied us, quite frankly. And if he had bagged a hat trick, nobody would have batted an eyelid. He was very, very impressive. So I agree with that, Boyce. I think for us to get anything, got to nullify him first and foremost. But at the same time, don't forget that there's other capable players as well. You mentioned Austin, a man who in his time has always loved a goal against Clyde. But Jonas, very capable of scoring goals from midfield as well. They're quite a big team at the back as well, so set plays going to be key probably for this game. We've scored our last couple of goals, believe it or not, from set plays, often crosses into boxes. So who knows? We might just have something in the works for that front. So I think we'll wrap it up there, guys. Thank you very much for your time. Hopefully we're back next week. Unfortunately, it's just been a bit hectic in work fronts and illness fronts and DIY, as it turns out in my house. But anyway, hopefully we're back next week looking on a precious 3 points, or at least a precious point, and start looking forward as we count down to the big one at Balmoor in the 22nd of April, am I right? But we're at home to Montrose next, I believe, after this week. Thanks, Graham. You're nodding in the background just for those who are listening only. So yeah, we'll be back. We'll talk Montrose. We'll start getting squeaky bum time over Peterhead, and then let's see where the league table, or what the league table looks like by then. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Thank you everyone for watching even, and listening. And until next time, come on the Bully Wee.